Hey everyone, Ilya here, and today we are in AMX 13105 in Karelia. For those of you who don't know, and I think probably not many people know it, Karelia is a region in Russia in the very north near Finland, and we got lucky to play against your 8 tanks in our light. Karelia is not my favorite map, mostly because of its randomness in terms of teams rollouts. You never know how many tanks go to the plateau on the right, in this case on the right, how many tanks are going to camp near the base. It's always very different, and it makes discussing some particular tactics for this map pretty pointless. Usually you just choose direction and improvise there. As you can see, I didn't go to the hill in the very beginning because I'm not sure if I get enough support there, and of course because I never know how many enemies are going to be there. Were I in a platoon, I would consider going to the hill. Also, if the enemy team had a lot of heavies that can't make it quickly to the hill, I would also consider it. Plus, I have to take into account that I can't kill anyone with a single magazine, so being in the first line is not something you should do in AMX 13105. So let's talk about 13105 in greater detail. Currently I play 13105 and Batchat at the same time so that I can really compare the two. On both tanks I use identical equipment, namely optics, vertical stabilizer and gun lane drive to improve shooting comfort of both guns, especially Batchat, which is known for its not the most accurate gun. If we look at the gun, then 13105 definitely has better gun handling, but its poor final accuracy combined with poor penetration and still not the best gun handling makes it a pretty bad sniper. Of course, Batchat isn't the best sniper as well, but its final accuracy allows it to hit targets more often from far distance. Plus, the cost of the miss in 13105 is greater since you have only 3 shells of 360 damage each, which makes it just under 1100 damage per magazine, well, in total. So every miss is very unpleasant because you'll have to reload for like 25 seconds after you finish shooting your magazine. And from 400 meters and more you will miss more than Batchat. However, 13105 feels slightly better on mid-range and even in close-range fights because it can aim quicker. Personally, I would slightly buff final accuracy and gun handling of 13105, not significantly but enough so that when the player is on Batchat 12t, the player will have choice between deadly but uncomfortable magazine of Batchat or comfortable but not so deadly of 13105. For now, I don't feel 13105 gun to be comfortable enough for there to be any choice between the guns. I think Batchat wins in terms of gun, like, completely. Another thing that is frustrating me, probably even more than the gun of AMX 13105, is the view range of 390. I always say that 390 is enough to be effective scout. True, but we are on tier 10 and we can't use vents to improve view range like T100 LT. Plus T100 LT has super camo. 13105 camo is weaker than that, of course. You could use vents instead of lane drive, but then you will lose all the shooting comfort and your gun won't be any competitive with Batchat's gun at all. So either you go for view range or for shooting comfort, and as it is with all French lights, they are good damage dealers, so the gun is of greater priority. As a scout, it's weaker than I would want it to be. Just give it 10 extra meters view range so that my view range doesn't look totally idiotic comparing to Sheridans or Panzerwagens, and I'll be just happy with it. I'm pretty happy with the dynamics of this tank. It accelerates quicker than Batchat, but similarly to Batchat it turns very poorly, so it's a pretty mediocre aggressive scout. But of course bushes and landscape are all for you. You aren't competitive to other lights in the open spaces, so you should be careful when doing that. You should be not far from cover all the time. Whenever I play 13105, I feel kinda alright, but this whole thing of need to scout, which you do poorly in it, plus need to keep distance from the enemies since you are very fragile and your gun isn't super deadly, combined with need to get closer to deal damage confidently, is pretty uncomfortable. You kinda need to be on a distance from the enemy, but you need to be close to the enemy at the same time. And it's not really nice. Previously I was pretty okay with 13105, but the experience of the last few days made me change my mind. If I were to rank tier 10 lights now, I would put T100LT on the first place, WZ1321 on the second, and AMX 13105 on the third place. Playable, interesting, deals a lot of damage sometimes, but sometimes it feels really underpowered and helpless. As a so-so scout, you played similarly to Batchat most of the time, but nobody can play as a Batchat better than the Batchat itself, right? So right now my opinion on AMX 13105 is the following. If you're choosing which LT line to go, AMX 13105 shouldn't be the first line. But it's more interesting than Sheridan or Panzerwagen. If you have Batchat 13105 won't bring anything new to you in terms of gameplay. It's just alright, but in the current state I see little point in playing it, since there is almost just as quick and much more deadly Batchat which can even scout actively if needed. Not as good as 13105, light is light after all, but still good enough to help the team with assisting if needed. So that's it for my current opinion on AMX 13105. Leave your opinion about this tank in the comments. Maybe you have some other opinion, maybe you find it pretty good. And I have another special thing to tell you. In the comments under this video, I'm asking you to leave your links to what replays with interesting replays and lights. The keyword is interesting, so it shouldn't be a battle where you spot for 10,000 sitting in one bush. It should be some maybe unusual bush, it should be some interesting way to spot or damage enemies. Maybe you have interesting carry that you want to share with everyone, or anything else that would be just interesting to watch. The idea is the following. I will take some battle and I will try to analyze your battle in terms of what you did great and what you could do better. Why don't I do this with my own battles? Well, because 1. It's always nice to see other ways to play lights in some maps, because we all have our own tactics for each map and it's just interesting to see something new. And 2. It's actually not so easy to see your own mistakes. Well, my own mistakes for me. So, if you don't mind me being critical about your battles in underlining your mistakes, as well as highlighting your smart ideas, leave your replays in the comments to this video, well, this and no other video, please. And the replays should also be from the current version of the game, otherwise I won't be able to open them. Also add in the comments the tank you play in, preferably equipment you use and perks you have, and in 1-2 sentences about the battle itself and why it's interesting. Thank you for watching, guys, and see you in the next videos.